Hello, everyone. I'm Eliana, and today on the podcast, I will be telling you about how I have a British twin sister. I'm just kidding. This is not about me, guys. So, yes, I do have a British twin sister. I don't know how that happened, but it did. Yeah, and you always see her. Today, you will see me. We sound exactly the same, except for the accent. Yeah, so today we have the Harvard head coach, Tommy Amaker. He coaches basketball. And I know you're like, Harvard has a basketball team? And then you're like, and Coach EV got him? And I was like, I was thinking the same thing, right? He said, oh, yeah, I know him. I was like, oh, okay, Dad. Yeah, it's going to be a great podcast, great information, lots of interesting things. We're going to be talking about basketball, Corona. Not that we love it, but it's here. So, yeah, and make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe because my dad puts out amazing content and I don't be seeing it shared and I don't see any subscribers. So what's going on? Now get your minds ready to receive this geek.
I want a Big Mac, baby.
Do you want a Big Mac? Yeah, me too. I want one with everything on it, even that special sauce. Now you can get one at McDonald's. I'm loving it.
What's up, world? It's your boy, Coach EV, your guy, EV the Geeker. And welcome to another episode of the Geeker Report podcast, brought to you by Tatum & Wade Law Firm, located at 124 East Amite Street, right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Their motto is serious lawyers with serious results. My motto for them is, if you want to get paid, you need to go to Tatum & Wade. Listen, I am as excited as I have been in a long time. And I know y'all keep hearing me say that, but I have a guest today that will blow you away. This man is one of the most decorated coaches in the history of basketball. He's a former McDonald's All-American. I mean, he has so many accolades. He went to the prestigious Duke University, where he was a star point guard. When I was in high school, I used to look up to this guy and say, man, this guy can play. He couldn't shoot like me, but he could really play the point guard position. He has coached everywhere at every level. He's been successful everywhere he's been. And now he is coaching at the illustrious Harvard University, where we have the Facebook founder from there. We have all type of people, Barack Obama, but then none as important as this guy. He is the all-time winningest coach. He has made Harvard basketball relevant. Please welcome to the show none other than Tommy Amaker. What's up, Mr. Amaker?
EV, listen, man. Thank you for that amazing introduction, and I'm ready to retire after how you just introduced me. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you and to be on your show, and it's great to be able to see that you're doing well in these unprecedented times, and proud of all that you have accomplished as well. So thank you for having me.
Tommy, that's no problem, Coach. And as we say here, Coach, we had talked about this. You hadn't gotten a chance to check out a lot of the shows, but I just want to let you know GOG. GOG means get out of the geek. I'm not going to allow you to geek me here today. It's my job to geek you. You're going to come back and try to geek me. So we're in a world of geek right now. I introduce you. You want to come back. Oh, my God. You've done just like all the other coaches, and I want to make sure that I tell you the exact same thing that I told them. G-O-G. But no, thank you, Coach, for coming on, man. Like, seriously, when I was in high school, I came out in 1987, and at that time, you were just finishing up right at Duke as the NCAA third team All-American point guard, and I really respected your game. You was Defensive Player of the Year. So you see, I know a little bit about you. I watched you and Johnny Dawkins have, one of the best, arguably, you probably, in my book, could go down as a top 10 backcourt of all time because of the success and the things that you guys did there. So it is exciting to have you on the show. And so I want to get right into it. Uh, right now, we're living in unprecedented times. I'm 51 years old. I know you're a few years older than me. And so this is the most chaotic that it's ever been in the world, in my opinion, with all of the different things that's been going on. So one of the things I want to just start off with, talk to me uh, about how this COVID-19 has affected you and your team. Let's talk about that because I think we all know, and you can also maybe go into, I think the Ivy League canceled all of their fall sports. And so talk to me a little bit about how that's affected you guys.
Well, you know what? It's as you mentioned, unprecedented times and moments, and it's been a moment in our history, a moment in time that unlike any other that we have seen in my lifetime, of course, and in yours as well, as you just mentioned, and it's really affected so much of what we see, what we do, how we feel. It has disproportionately affected communities of color. It's been in every sense of the word, a pandemic. It's brought our country and literally our world to a standstill, which is we obviously have never seen it. But in the silver lining of it, EV, that there can be things that hopefully we can take from this and learn from this and get better from this. And I believe that obviously with the way that this has affected and has occurred in terms of bringing us all to a standstill, it's allowed us to see things through a clearer lens. I wrote an op-ed called 2020 Vision. And I really believe that there's something about our year being 2020. 2020 for me stands for clear vision. And we're seeing things through a clearer vision in our country. And it's because of the pandemic. I mean, we've experienced social, injustice before in the history of our country, and not that long ago, where things were still happening in a way of, whether that's police brutality or different institutional racism. But this moment in time has allowed us to kind of be at a pause. It's caused everyone to see clearly through 2020 vision of what's actually happening in our country. And I think it's made us more aware, have more empathy. It's made us, we have a more diverse, interest in wanting to make this right. I think we're seeing not just people of color that are protesting or marching or having things to say. I think we're seeing this as the most diverse, protesting moment in the history of our country. And I think it's wonderful because I think we're seeing through a vision that, requires us to see things through a vision of humanity, not just black and white. And so I think if there's something that maybe we can take from this pandemic as we move forward and hopefully get through it, I think we'll be better served. Obviously, it's been awful things that have happened, loss of life, and all the things that we know that have occurred, jobs and, our players and losing of seasons and all the things that have occurred because of the pandemic. But maybe the overarching and silver lining we may be able to take from this one day will be that this was the time that it caused us to see the way that our country really is operating, and we really did something about it. And I think all people are behind this like none other. And so I'm hopeful, Evie. I'm hopeful that, I'm optimistic. I want to be positive, and I'm hopeful that we can take things from it. As awful as it has been, hopefully we can take things from it and utilize it to get better as we hopefully come through it at some point in time in the near future.
Wow, that is very powerful what you said. I mean, I have not heard anybody say that. The 2020, like, I love that. I happen to have, or I used to have 2020 vision. And so, when you're talking about you're seeing through a clearer lens, it's a better focus. We've been able, things that have been talked about for years, but now because of COVID-19, things have come to a complete stop where now you can see better. Because in the past, when things are just constantly moving, you would have had a death like George Floyd, and it would have been bad, but then there was still, March Madness. There was still NBA playoffs. And so now, although there still would have been a section of the world who would have been pushing for George Floyd, the knee on the neck. But now everybody was stopped. Everybody, like you said, was able to see and kind of just almost like wipe our eyes and be like, oh my God, like this is what people have been talking about for years. Touch on, if you would, when you look at, I'll be honest, I was one that said, after a while, they will, we'll just kind of, skimmy over this and go to the next thing. But we have really stayed on the race, from the racial tension and stuff. We've kind of stayed there for a season. Talk to us about what your thoughts on all of the racial tension. Just kind of continue to, elaborate on
Yeah. You listen. I appreciate your thoughts of seeing it like that. The clear vision. When you have clear vision and you see things for what it really is, and you have to be at a pause. Nobody could be, somewhere else. We weren't, as you said, we didn't move on to something else that just was a natural way of life. Moving forward. Well. This has caused everyone to see clearly. And when you see clearly, you have a tendency to feel differently. And I think this has touched, more than just, the Black community. We have been saying about, different things in our world, in our lives, in our communities that have been unfair and unjust since the beginning of time. And there have been moments in time that has flared up and we've made progress. This one, though, I think it has the opportunity and the momentum to carry it even further. And I think because of technology, I think of because the millennials, I think of because if the pandemic, the COVID-19, I think this has a chance to, and I think we're seeing more people wanting to have an opportunity to do something that can help make change. I think we're seeing it from a corporate structure. I think we're seeing it from, political, business, educational, individually. I think we're seeing these forces that are just coming in waves unlike we've ever seen before. Now, maybe one of the challenges, EV, is going to be, can we make sure that we are, harnessing it all correctly? Are we able to take advantage of it in the right way and move things forward, or is it just going to be so much that we can't get our arms around it to make the kind of systemic change that's necessary? Because this is a moment in time where we have, I think the eyes, the ears, and the hearts and the souls of the masses to do what's right and to make things better, to have our country live up to what we have always known that we have stood for. And now we need to live up for it and live up to it. And so I just believe that we're on the path. I believe us as basketball coaches. I'm on the board of directors of the NABC, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We're trying to do a few things in our lane. We're trying to do as coaches to say, we are involved obviously on college campuses. We're educators and teachers first. And so there are a couple of things that we have proposed and we've instituted. We like to see change. We want to see maybe the SAT and the ACT be eliminated, realizing that it has its institutional racism structures forever. It was brought about many years ago, in a way to eliminate students of color to be able to be admitted to certain schools. Well, we're thinking that, this is a moment in time where you have so many colleges and universities that are going away from the SAT and ACT for a variety of reasons. The whole University of California system has decided, that includes UCLA and Cal Berkeley and the entire University of California system schools have decided to do away with the SAT and ACT. They have felt, that there are elements of racism involved in it, and they're moving away from it. The COVID-19, we should be able to say in this moment in time, because COVID has disproportionately affected communities of color, that we are not going to add this burden on the students to try to, get a test score in this unprecedented moment in time, and trying to find a safe, and testing site that's, that's going to be allowable for these students and these kids to take tests. It's disproportionately affecting the kids of color who need test prep. all the things that we see that we know. Well, we're ready to, attack these things now. The other, lane that we are trying to proposal, EV, that we've started is that we think it's imperative for kids to learn African American or Black history as a required course, whether that's in high school and or college for graduation. We feel that we're in this moment in time as well because we don't know our history, and that includes not just white people but Black people. We've never really been taught our history truthfully and honestly, and our history is intertwined, with American history like none other. In Germany, students are required to learn about the Holocaust. Well, we think this is important for us to learn about the history of slavery, the history of African Americans, whether that's slavery, Jim Crow, where we get to civil rights, where all the layers and the moments in our history and how it has brought us to where we are starting to address systemic racism. Well, it's for a reason that it's been embedded and ingrained from the beginning of time. Well, we need to learn about it. We need to understand it. And I think if we have an understanding, we have better empathy, we have better awareness, and I think we're able to kind of do things in a different manner that will help us, again, not just from Black and white, but from a sense and a purpose of humanity, which I think is as big and as great as we can ever say.
Man, that's you said so much, and when you were talking, it just opened up so many, and I could go so many places, so I want to be careful because I get excited, man. That's you just said so many powerful things, but one of the things you talked about was the millennials and how I really believe this whole thing has opened up kind of like a sleeping giant in the sense that a lot of times people, because we, and even I would say from white and Black, there's not a lot. I don't think they have the mindset of raising their kids like they did back in the day, where it was just obvious. Like Black people, when I grew up in Clarksdale, Mississippi, Black people lived on one side of town, white people lived on the other. Now it was clear, man, you ain't going on this side of town. It was clear they didn't come on our side of town. So it was more of an intentional, when you talk about difference, that was out there in the world. We can't trick ourselves like that didn't happen. But I think as time went on, and I'll just go even back, as a basketball player, my thought process was, because I didn't play against white kids that much in Mississippi, but when I moved to Saginaw, Michigan, I remember playing against a good friend of mine. I went to an all-white school, and I played against a white kid named Billy Wood. And Billy Wood, in my mind, when I first played Billy Wood, I was like, man, this white boy can't beat me. Ain't no white boy better than me. That was my mindset because that was kind of almost ingrained into me. And so now in today's society, we go back and, with the integration of sports and different things, some of my favorite, one of my favorite players, Larry Bird, Pistol Pete Maravich, Jason, Williams, all these things. As time has gone on, we've kind of brought it together. But now, since this COVID-19 and everything stopped, we had a time, like you said, to remind, and people got to see, and it was almost like our kids and got their eyes got opened. Like, wait a minute, this thing still exists, right? As you talk about systemic racism still exists, and so I think that's. You brought out some powerful points, and that's where you talk about the clearer vision. Because before that, you got blurred with just stuff. The world's going so fast. Boom, 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 boom. So you hear about little stuff here. You hear about, no big deal. Boom, 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 boom. Because life is steady going on. But now everything stopped. And now and then it didn't stop. It enlightened itself, like even more. And it's like, wait a minute.
Evie, you're so right. You're absolutely right about that. And in the millennials, and I think that it was just eye-opening to the younger generation to see that this can actually happen and occur in their world, in this world, in this country, at this particular moment in time, in the year 2020. They've heard and learned about certain things, but to see it unfold completely and clearly right before their eyes, right before all of us, and then their impact, EV, with the younger generation, the millennials, with their ability to have with technology, to be connected, to have a platform, have a voice, and you know what? They're not afraid to use it. They're not afraid of any kind of repercussions of what's going to happen or be said if they say this or do this, even in their own families. They're not afraid. And so I am just, I am certainly in awe. I am proud. And I really want to be able to feel like I can help serve the younger folks who are, I believe that they're the only ones that can make this change happen, because I believe that they're not going to stop. I believe that they recognize that their voice carries. They are connected. They are even smarter. They are more aware, of what the world can bring and the impact that they can have. They know that they have impact on, whether that's economic impact, social impact, political impact. They are aware, of who they are and what they can bring. And so I'm just hopeful and I'm optimistic of what that younger generation will be able to do with this moment in time that we have found ourselves in. And that's why we've seen, the protesting and the marches, and it's been the most diverse we've ever seen. And you mentioned about as you came through, as I've come through, well, you knew there was a certain, sector or part of town or, where this is who went there and this is who went there. I mean, this is who lived here and this is who lived there. Well, we still have it, of course. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the world isn't, completely gone and changed from that, but it's not the way it used to be, as you were referring to. And they are so much more intertwined. And I believe that they feel like they have a platform and a voice. And so I'm optimistic, I'm hopeful, and I'm here to serve. And that's why I wrote that as a 2020 vision of what, and in the year 2020, to me, it's very fitting and ironic that this is occurring in the year 2020, because 2020 to me has always stood for clear, unclouded vision. And I said that as a basketball player myself. I could shoot a little better than you think I could, by the way. But as a basketball player, being a point guard, you needed to have vision. Like, you need to be able to see the floor. You need to be able to see what was happening. Well, that to me is what spurred on something inside of me to write that op-ed about 2020 vision. Like, I prided myself on being able to see the floor when I played. Well, this right now, the world is seeing the floor. The world is seeing what has happened in our world, what is happening in our country. You know what? And we're seeing it in a way that we never thought we would. We're seeing it in a way that these young folks can't believe that it's actually, they heard and read about some of this stuff, can't believe that it's happening now in their lifetime. Well, they're going to make the change. We are going to be better. I just hope that we don't ever lose the momentum that we have, with all the constituents, whether it's corporate, political, business, that are intertwined with this, that people are trying to make change in a way that we've never seen before.
Wow. I mean, just, man, you said something really, man. I just really, and I'm always a minister kind of first and spiritual. You said such a prophetic thing, man. I can't get away from that 2020. And then you just had me think about it. They're saying, who would have thought that my child at 12 years old or 14, because of social media, and I don't know if Mark Zuckerberg, who was a Harvard person, thought that his Facebook and his the contribution that he made to social media would be this big, that we would see through the social media lens an actual lynching of an individual like George Floyd, which you can argue it was a 2020 lynching on social media. Who would have thought that would have happened? And it's not like, and the thing is that, most older guys say, it's not like it just started, it just began to be. Now we see it, we're able to capture it through technology. And so that is what's caused this momentum to continue, because we're not talking about something that is like, even though this is July, we're not talking about something that is kind of old news. It's still fresh. it's still something that's relevant, even right now. And so for you to talk about that, man, that is powerful, for that.
Well, I thank you, and I appreciate it. And the thing, like you said, it's you see the NBA, you see a guy like Colin Kaepernick, how he's viewed differently now.
Yeah.
People are coming to understand what he stood for, what he was trying to say, what he meant. But most people, though, EV, when you look back in time, most individuals that were steadfast in their beliefs in doing something that was right, and it was difficult for others to kind of come to grips with it at the time. They were vilified early. Whether that's Muhammad Ali. We can go down the list of people who were not necessarily, whether was Congressman John Lewis. Well, there were many people that at the beginning stages of when they were saying what they needed to say and trying to get others to feel the way that they felt. They weren't necessarily embraced. But they had perseverance, they had deep beliefs, and and they also had faith, that what they were doing was the right thing, and it somehow, some way, it was going to be viewed in as we always say, when at some point when history is going to judge, it will be judged correctly and fairly. And now you're seeing so many people, just the passing of Congressman John Lewis, just recently, someone who gave pretty much his entire life, for trying to make our country more just, more fair, and more equal. Someone who, for the voting rights, is what he certainly did in so many ways for us. Whether that's the marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge and almost losing his life, and then still, as he would like to say, trying to find and make good trouble. But people that were, steadfast in their beliefs, people that persevered, people that we will see and we're going to write down as history will judge, were great people, not good people, great people. And we were honored to be in their presence. And I was honored to have a chance to meet Congressman Lewis when he visited Harvard. He was a commencement speaker here a few years ago. He came a couple times to visit our campus. And things of that sort that we have seen, we have been blessed to be a part of. We have been able to kind of watch and listen and learn, and hopefully take the reins and pass the baton and all the things that we know, as I said, going back to these millennials that are carrying the burden, carrying the baton, carrying the weight, and I don't see them dropping it. I don't see them slowing down, and I definitely see them wanting to make sure that we're going to get across that finish line.
That's awesome. Well, before we get going, man, because I know time is short, man. I've just enjoyed our time, and it's like I told you we were just gonna get going, and man, you just blessed the mess out of me and helped a lot of people. But I want to go into this segment that we call "What's Your Geek." The "What's Your Geek" segment, is brought to you by Fahrenheit Graphics and Sweet Mary K Photography. And the "What's Your Geek" segment is basically talk to us a little bit about Tommy Amaker, the former high school All-American, the basketball player. Tell us a little bit about Duke, your time there, and then tell us a little bit about your family and, who Tommy Amaker is behind all of, this.
Well, listen, man, that's kind of you to ask. I'm first of all, I'm like you and many others that I've been incredibly blessed. I've had family, friends, loved ones that have allowed me to be who I am and have supported and loved and have paved the way in so many different ways. My mother was a longtime school teacher. My mother taught for 50 years in the Washington, D.C. area where I'm from, the Northern Virginia area as we refer to as the DMV, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, in that community. And so I'm a product of teachers. My mother was a teacher. All my aunts were teachers. I've been married. My wife and I, we've been married for 28 years. She's still been putting up with me. I don't know how and why, but I'm blessed in that regard. I have an older sister that lives in New York City, and we have been. My parents are still living and alive. My father and my mother divorced when I was actually in college, but both are still healthy and doing well. And my father lives in Columbia, South Carolina, where he's originally from. And so listen, I'm blessed. I've had a chance to play basketball, coach basketball, teach basketball. And I view that I'm a teacher and I'm a leader as much or more so than a coach. And I pride myself on that, EV. And that's what I want to do with my world and my passions, is to see if we can help, others, reach their potential. My greatest teacher, other than my mother and my parents, but my greatest teacher I had in college was Coach K. And I was fortunate to play for such a great man, arguably the greatest of all time, to what he's accomplished and who he is and what he's done. But he was my greatest teacher that I had in college. And so I'm proud and again, blessed to have had his guidance, his mentorship, his tutelage. And I've been a head coach now for, 23 years? Yeah, 23 years. And I've been at Seton Hall, Michigan, and now at Harvard for 13 years here at Harvard. And so my wife and I have enjoyed this community. They've embraced us. We have been proud to represent, our school, our institution, and be a part of the Boston, New England, Cambridge community. And so, we talk a lot about with our program and our players that, the only attitude is gratitude. The only attitude is gratitude. And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. And we should all remember and count our blessings, no matter how bad we think we might have it. There's always somebody that's got it worse. And let's don't forget that. And so the only attitude is gratitude. That's the way I want to try to live my life. And we all have our moments and ups and downs. And whether that's me being fired as a head coach at Michigan. But you know what? I also have a belief, and we talk about with our program, EV, oftentimes our greatest rejection can and will lead to our greatest direction. It has allowed me to be at Harvard. It has allowed me to find a home here and to bring value. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for moments. I'm grateful for people. I'm grateful for, the world that we have. And although that we can all make it better and do better, but I'm still very grateful. And the only attitude is gratitude.
Oh, that's good. Your only attitude is gratitude. You know what? I love that, because I tell my kids, I tell people, especially young people I'm able to share with me, I can't stand somebody that's ungrateful. Like, I really don't like that, man. I don't like that type of attitude. You want to get me, I'm pretty kind of upbeat guy most times, but when you want to get me upset, sound like you ungrateful. I tell my kids that they should see a different side of daddy when when they start acting like they're ungrateful. I done took care of you, and you asked me a question. Well, Dad, why I said, man, I paid for your life. I did pay. You did sleep last night. I did. You ain't missed no meal. So let's not act like I owe you anything. And the world has this. It's not just kids, although kids get the brunt of it. They have this sense of entitlement. It's the world itself. We have this sense of entitlement going on. So that's powerful right there. Let me close with this. And I appreciate you coming on. I know for time's sake we got to keep it moving. But let's talk about Harvard basketball real quick. You guys have had just incredible success. You're the all-time winningest coach. You've won 7 Ivy League regular season titles. You've been to the NCAA just countless numbers of times. How do you get kids, like, because of Harvard not giving out scholarships, quote unquote, I know y'all figure it out, but talk to us about what you're looking for in a Harvard kid, and when you go about the recruiting process, and then talk to us about this year's team coming up.
Yeah, well, it's we're in the Ivy League. We have a conference that consists of what we used to be referred to as the Ancient Eight, very old institutions. Harvard is the oldest school in the country, and so we've been around a long time. We're the oldest. We're the wealthiest. We're considered one of the academic elites. We're all those amazing things that have been said about our institution. But more than anything, EV, Harvard is is a place that I have found to has been very welcoming, and I'm proud. I have to believe in where I am. I'm not just in this to, so I have a job, and I get all the things that come with, quote unquote, having a job, and me being blessed enough to coach a collegiate basketball team. But it's important that it's essential, it's imperative that I believe in where I am, that I'm a believer in what we stand for with our institution, with our leadership, our president. And so I'm proud to represent Harvard, and we have built a basketball program that we like to think, and we're hopeful that is befitting of our institution. We know what we've been thought of as an institution being, usually ranked as the #1 school in the world. That's not me trying to brag or say it. That's, those are facts. Those are, surveys. Those are U.S. News World Report, Forbes magazine, whatever it is. But we've tried to build a basketball program and a brand with our basketball to be befitting of our school. And I like to think that we have. And so appreciate you acknowledging, the success we've had. We've had great players. We've had amazing coaches and staff members. And but you mentioned about, we don't have scholarships. Everything at Harvard is, in the Ivy League in general, is need-based financial aid. We have an arrogant saying at Harvard, we say we have the most money so we can give the most money. So if you need the money to go to school here, we'll give it to you. That's what we pride ourselves on. And on our team, in specifically, we have the range of kids who are not receiving any financial aid to kids who are receiving everything in aid. So we go everywhere in between that. And we've been able to recruit and attract some kids that we coined a phrase with us that we like to call our guys scholars and ballers. And that's who we want to attract. And we're pleased and proud that we've been able to attract some really top-notch kids, that have shown that they can do both very well. They can be a high-level student and they can be a baller as well. And so we're proud of that. We're hopeful that we can continue on that path to bring about a great product and a brand that we've tried to create with our basketball program at this great school. And you mentioned some of the, notable alums, that have found their way through Harvard through all these years. And so we're just hopeful that we can make, our folks, our school, our administration, our alums proud of who we are and how we go about doing
it. Talk to me this year coming up. How good? How good? Talk to me about Harvard this year. And I'm just going to end with this because I always put coaches on the spot. Tell me how good you're going to be, and are you going to win the Ivy League this year?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're hopeful that we'll have a season.
I
think we all are in that same boat, the same boat there, same mode of hopeful, optimistic of having a season. We think we'll be a contender for our league. Okay. We have been, for the last 10 to 12 years, EV. We've been a contender. We've won it 7 times. We've been to 4 NCAA tournaments, 3 NITs. We've had 7 20-plus win seasons. We're proud. We have become a factor and a contender in so many ways, one of the powers in our conference. But we have a very strong league, with Princeton and Yale and Penn and Brown, Dartmouth, Columbia, Cornell. I mean, it's a high-level conference, and we're proud that we are involved in a great league. We think we have a chance to, every year, we're hopeful that we would feel we have a chance to win our league. And we think our team has a chance to be very good, as we were this past season and the year before. And so we're confident, but we're also very respectful, of our league and our conference. And we know, just like we like to say too, EV, whatever league you're in, whoever you talk to, or whatever league they're in, is hard. Whatever league you're in is hard. That's when league play is always very challenging. So when you ask any coach, whether it's high school, NAIA, junior college, Division II, III, Division I, SEC, whatever league that you are in, it is hard. And we have recognized that with our Ivy League opponents and members. And so we're hopeful, but we also are very confident that we will be a contender for our league title.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you, man, coming on. I mean, to have somebody of your caliber to come on and just enlighten us, man. I've learned a lot here today. And man, if there's anything else you want to have some final words before we sign off today, man, I want to let you have it. But I'm excited about the Harvard. Is it the Red Crimson? Is that what
It's
we
just the Harvard Crimson.
Harvard Crimson. I know y'all wear red, and I
Just
wish I would have, before you say your last words, I wish a guy that I had for you years ago named Reggie Hearn would have played for you. But that's another story.
That's it. Yes.
I already talked to Kenny Blakeney, your assistant, from years the last time, and we went over it. So I kind of busted his chops on it because I kind of blame him more than I blame you. But that's
that's on me. That's on me. But the head coach, I'm supposed to take responsibility for our program. And you know what? You were right. Reggie Hearn was a tremendous player, and you said that. You said it's not only a tremendous player, but a tremendous kid.
right.
He's proven that and then some. And as you know, and you've been in this business long enough, we make mistakes. And that was one that we made. But you know what? It worked out very well for Reggie Hearn, which is the main thing. He went to a great school, played at Northwestern, was a tremendous player. All the wonderful things being talked about that young man. And we messed up. And so the bottom line is that, we win some, we lose some, but we keep going. And we acknowledge them. But I want to capture and summarize things. First of all, I want to thank you for having me. Thank you for what you're doing, bringing light to our world. The issues and concerns that people can have dialogue about. Hopefully, bring thoughts and ideas that others, whoever can happen to be listening to what we're talking about and saying today, that maybe can make a difference in somebody's life. Those are great things that you're doing. That's the blessings that you have to try to help others, and I'm proud and honored to hopefully play a small role in that. So thank you for having me. Thank you for your interest, and I hope that at some point, when I know you're gonna keep grinding and do what you do, and you still, you're already at the big time, but even further, further down the road for you being the big time, don't forget me. That's all I'm gonna say is don't forget me. Okay. Thank you for having me, EV, and wishing you and your family nothing but the best.
All right, man. Bless you guys.
Geeker, the geeker, the geeker. His name's a 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 geeker.